Today's episode will show you how to reconnect with your identity, embrace your pride, and start building real self love from within. Hey, this is Steph, and welcome to the Together Moving Forward podcast. A podcast helping 2S LGBTQI people embrace self love and self respect so you can celebrate yourself with pride. By the end of this episode, you'll discover how to build genuine self love without relying on labels or external validation, why embracing fluidity can strengthen your identity and sense of pride, how joy and self expression can become powerful tools for healing and confidence. Today's conversation is about reconnecting with your identity, embracing your pride, and starting to build real self love from within. Hello again, I'm Steph Vachon and I'm a human being. Welcome back to the Together Moving Forward podcast. Embrace your 2S LGBTQI identity with pride through self love. No matter where you stand in the 2S LGBTQI spectrum, we are all connected. And if you ever struggle to fully love and respect yourself, you're not alone. And this podcast is here to help you. As someone who has navigated my own journey of self acceptance as a queer, I know the power of hearing voices that reflect our experiences. In this podcast, you'll hear real stories and conversations that leave you with practical tools, fresh perspectives, and the confidence to embrace who you are with pride. To start, I need to say that I'm not a psychologist, a specialist, or someone with a college degree. I'm just a regular guy here to share with all of you and support each other. I'll share my journey, and we will all share journeys together. We'll learn from each other how to move forward. Today, I'm so grateful to welcome Cal Lerchi, a San Francisco based creative and advocate who explores identity, gender, and self expression through art, music, and performance. As a singer, cyclist, and drag performer who identifies as a drag jester, Cal uses creativity to challenge norms and celebrate fluidity within the LGBTQ community. With a background in psychology and a deep commitment to authenticity, Cal shares powerful insights on self love, identity, and finding joy as an act of resilience. Hello, Cal, and welcome to the Together Moving Forward podcast. And thank you for being here with us today.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
Your journey speaks a lot about finding joy as an act of defiance. How did you learn to truly love yourself in a world that sometimes made you feel like you didn't belong?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different parts to that. No one approach is going to be like the answer. I think the main things for me have been singing, biking, and drag performing, and each of those are like activities that I enjoy at face value, but they also like on a deeper level like let me access a side of myself that feels like different and new and exploring. Like with singing, it's kind of like a really personal like gendered experience of like how your voice sounds, like how high, hello. I've been in a couple different choruses. One was an all trans chorus and one was the San Francisco gay men's chorus, and both of them were really interesting for different gender reasons. Singing with a whole group of all trans people was really special and something I'd never experienced before. But I also really liked the Gay Men's Chorus because it was enormous. There are over 300 people in it. And there are trans women, trans men, non binary people, all sorts of different people in that group. So I found it to be a really welcoming and inclusive space where it was really fun to experiment with my voice. I kind of sing more in the treble clef, so the higher parts, but I can sing more medium or lower. So it was cool to just see how my voice fit into that group. And like, I definitely wouldn't say as like the number one identifier that I identify as like a gay man. I don't think that really fits me that well, but I felt like I fit in socially very well and it was a super fun group. And then the other two things I said was biking as a way to like, that one's a little more individualized, which I guess singing I can do by myself too. But biking has been like a really gender affirming way that I've been able to find self love and self compassion. I think a lot of the time, the world and like society and the government and all these things make it feel like trans bodies are really bad and shouldn't exist. But when I'm biking, all of that just like goes away and I can just focus on biking, like the sensations of that, how my body feels, and not like how it feels in a bad way, but just like all the natural things of like when you're biking down a hill and you feel the wind rushing. That's just such a special feeling and it makes me feel really grateful to have a body and not be having all those other thoughts of like, oh no, this and that and this and that of other people putting their own prescribed things on my body. And the last thing to the three parts of this answer of drag performing has been a really wonderful way to dive more into myself and how I identify, how I see myself. I feel like for a long time, I shied away from anything that was like girly or pink or like very big air quotes of like that kind of thing. Cause obviously it's all like, yeah, none of that stuff is real, really. But I felt like I had had for so long these prescribed things put on me of like, this is what you have to do to be like a girl in the right way, quote unquote. And so with drag, I feel like I get to just like throw all that out the window, take the things that I think are fun and that I like, and also leave other things behind. Like a lot of the time when someone is a drag performer, they'll be like, I'm a drag king or I'm a drag queen, but like I don't think I fit into either of those specifically. So I like to call myself a drag jester because I'm kind of just like making fun of the whole thing of and yeah, I'm still very much working on like the artistic part of it of like I didn't wear makeup for years and years growing up because I was like, that's a girl thing. So many air quotes in this answer. um,
It's perfect.
but yeah, so just like jumping into that of like, I could put sparkles all over my face if I want. I can wear a wig, I can wear a dress. And like, none of those things are inherently like defining anything about me. That's felt like really like a relief, like letting something go that I didn't even realize was holding me down so much.
Everything you just said is already so interesting and powerful. Thank you. And
Thanks.
I have to admit, I had in one of my first episode, I had a drag queen,
Mhm.
and I was saying how I've never done drag, and I need to do it once at least. Like I really want to. I just need the opportunity to do it. And there's this show. I don't know if you watched it, SOS Drag. It's in Britain. Oh my god, I discovered that lately, and it's so fabulous.
Wow.
It's fabulous. They go. It's like a bunch of drag queens, and then they travel in that bus, and they go into towns and villages, and ask people to that would like to have an experience with the doing a drag show, and like they have 1 week to get them all ready, and the experience that the people have and how they come out of it, it's like it's so incredible. It's really cool. So I do have to do a drag queen like show once. I It's in me. I I need to do it once, and it's really cool to hearing you about all the hobbies and things you're doing. That's great.
Yeah, and drag is definitely for anyone. Like it does not
Oh,
matter anything about gender. Just it's such a fun way to play around and be
totally.
free.
You mentioned that you once searched for the perfect label to define yourself, but later embraced fluidity. How did that shift change the way you see yourself and practice self love?
Yeah, I think that was kind of a gradual process over time. It wasn't necessarily just like I need a box to fit in and then me being like, haha, just kidding. But I think just like the more I like I feel like a lot of queer and trans maybe trans I don't know, but like a lot of people have this like searching and researching and like trying to figure out like what's going on here. Like I feel so different. I feel like I don't fit for XYZ reason. And I think that finding like a tangible thing, finding that like reason that feels like it explains what's going on can be really helpful and really relieving and feels like it can connect you to other people. But also those like prescribed boxes are just like one set thing and there's like an infinite number of things that like make anyone their own person. So like at the end of the day, nothing's gonna like fit perfectly. And I think that also for me, I felt like sometimes those sort of labels were sometimes put onto me without me actively choosing them. Like, I think when I was in high school, I was in a relationship with a person who was a girl. So people were like, oh, you're a lesbian. Like, that's the thing. And I was like, I don't know. Like, in my head, I was like, I'm not sure if I feel like that is the thing, but like technically that seems like what's happening. But I never really identified with that. So then when I was like a couple years later, when I was in college, I met more people who were trans and non-binary and learned that like I could use gender neutral pronouns. So because I was using those pronouns, I was like, oh, I must be non-binary. Like this is the thing. But I think even over even more years, I've this isn't like a I feel like everything I'm saying like with caveats and things like that, but like I think that in the a lot of the community spaces that I've been in, specifically in San Francisco and in the Bay Area here, like a lot of the time, like the non-binary identity, s- even though it's called non-binary, like a lot of the spaces that are made for that are predominantly like white people who have use certain like medical things to transition, whatever that may be. It's like this label that's all about fluidity and not fitting into a binary, and then like these like non-binary clubs, whatever they may be, like feel like, wait, why is everyone here like the same? Like it doesn't make sense to me. But I think at one point I really sought out with like a hunger, like community spaces that were like, this is all queer, this is all trans, and now realizing I can just do things that I like and it doesn't have to be just for this one label. But I definitely still do identify as trans as just like a umbrella big statement of like the gender that the doctor said at moment zero probably doesn't exactly fit with how I experience life. Trans and queer feel like broad enough that they fit, but at the end of the day, like I think those kind of things are also like haircuts where like I don't really care what it looks like because it's only other people that are seeing it. Like I don't see my haircut for the most of the time. Maybe that's like a weird parallel, but yeah, and I think a lot of these labels I've been talking about were LGBTQ related, but I also studied psychology in school. And so that's like a lot of labels and thinking about like boxes and diagnostic, the DSM, and like there was a point in time where I like read the full DSM like cover to cover within the period of a month, just trying to be like, what's going on? Within my own brain. And I think the more you read those kind of things and those like criteria and labels and stuff like that, it's like, wait, but these things are so similar. And we're like boxing off different mental health things into different categories, but like all of it's related. And yeah, so just the more I like learn about different identities, learn about the things that like make them what they are, the more I'm like, this is all shifting and not like super defined. So I think I really have learned to embrace fluidity as much as I am still like Swiss German at heart and do love like an order and like TikTok, this is how things go. But trying to be more open to the possibility of more flowing things.
So when I listen to you, it all comes down to it doesn't matter like so much what label we think we are or people want to put us in. I mean, it's all about knowing who you are and being comfortable with who you are, and that's it. I-
Yeah, no, and I think like I get defensive of labels too, of like when people from outside of your own experience are like, you're
yeah.
not this or you're not that. So like it goes both ways, but yeah, I really agree with what you just
But
said
who
about
cares? Like, who cares, really?
yeah, just try to be happy
Yeah.
and your life.
Yeah. And just be yourself, and that's it. I mean, that's all it should matter.
Yeah.
The more interview people, the more it's getting so much clearer and easier for me to understand. Because also the same thing, like, I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So can you imagine the labels and the boxes, you know? And the
Yeah.
more I interview people and just listening to you, it all comes down to like, who cares? Seriously, who cares? As long as you're being happy with yourself, you are true to yourself? I mean, why should we have to explain to anyone what we are supposed to be or what we are? Because it doesn't make any difference anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like 70s and 80s though too. And like back then it was like a prior DSM where it said like even just being gay was a mental illness. So
Yeah.
like sometimes it really does like have a tangible effect and like societally it does matter, even if individually it shouldn't like hold as much weight as it does.
Yeah, of course. But that's also when we have to really try to let go of the expectations and look into yourself and just concentrate on yourself, right?
Yeah.
You describe joy as an act of defiance. Can you tell us how choosing joy helped you move forward during difficult moments in your life?
Yeah, so definitely joy as defiance. I see that a lot of the time when I'm looking on like social media or on the news or just like any visual place. There's so many things about like this bad thing happened for trans people. This bad thing is happening with like immigration or like racism in the government or even like in the day to day of like citywide policies. And there's just like so much stuff that can, it does like bear
Mm,
down on like your heart and your soul. And just like any person who has compassion and is like taking this all in, it's like, wow, like, how do I keep existing? Like, I remember years and years ago, I had a psychology professor who I don't remember exactly how he said it, but something along the lines of like, people with depression are the reasonable ones. Like people who are like existing in the world being like, "Oh, nothing's wrong. Like this is great." Like we live in such heavy times. Not that that's new or unprecedented. Like there's always been like the horrible racism and acts of
yeah.
violence and wars. Like that's not new, but this is just another chapter of that. And so figuring out like how am I going to exist in this world that has X, Y, and Z things like definitely wrong with it in really big ways. And so I feel like turning to joyful community spaces, sometimes I'm like, wait, am I like being what's the word? Like sometimes I worry like by going to those like joyful and celebratory spaces of like a drag show with friends or like singing in a chorus that's not like tangibly like out in the fight, like doing a protest or whatever. But I think those things are like recharging and like a way to regain energy. There was a quote I really like about the HIV AIDS crisis. So this quote is by the author and activist Dan Savage, and he said, "During the darkest days of the AIDS crisis, we buried our friends in the morning, we protested in the afternoon, and we danced all night. The dance kept us in the fight because it was the dance we were fighting for." And like even reading that right now, like I feel so emotional just like thinking about that quote of like you need to have the balance of the things. Like you need to have both the like the joy and the pain and like having them together because one is fueling you to keep going. And if you're just fully entrenched in like, oh my God, this is all so horrible, this is all like so bad, like why are you even fighting for that? So like having these other things to turn to that are really joyful and wonderful, like be it music or live performances, even knowing that like going out into nightlife can be a potential danger with like in the US how available guns are and how like violent people can be, like just even going to a gay bar can be like a danger. So like knowing like I'm going to this place to be with people who also want to exist in community and have fun together and like I don't even know most of the people in this room in this building, but like we're all here doing this thing because we want to exist in community. And like I don't drink either. So like that's like a whole other thing of like sometimes feeling a little disconnected, but I feel like drag is like a little like side activity. So I can be like, I'm not drinking, but I'm still here for like a purpose and a reason. I think one other thing that there's this academic paper by Susan Stryker, who also lives in San Francisco and is a trans academic. She wrote this paper called My Words to Victor Frankenstein, above the village of, you would probably pronounce this better than me. It has a lot of X's and random letters, but Shamanu or something like that. I don't know. But she wrote that paper just about like Frankenstein's monster and comparing like trans people to Frankenstein's monster and how like people make trans people out to be scary and monsters and
Yeah.
deviants, and like the fact that like deviant and defiant are so similar in terms of like how they sound and are spelled. Like I know that by some people I am seen as deviant, and like my accepting that and continuing to exist and doing the things that I like and caring about the people I care about, that is defiant to that. And just like acknowledging like some people will see me in a certain way and I can't change that most likely. I definitely have been in some situations where, like, while at trans rallies, like, people have said, like, really horrible things to me, like, to my face. Of just being like, your body's a mistake. Like, this is all so horrible. Like, why would you do this to yourself? And I think, like, being able to have the solidness within myself to be like, well, I know who I am. So, like, these people are, they're just like random strangers who have nothing better to do than like come to a rally in the middle of the day and like insult a bunch of strangers. Like, get a hobby. I have plenty of hobbies and they're really fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah. So, just like kind of reclaiming that monstrosity and that like, oh, I'm so scary. Like, look at me, I'm not scary. I'm wearing like butterflies and flowers in my hair. Like, so silly. And the more I can like realize that I can scoff at those things rather than take them seriously and be like, this is ridiculous, actually. Like, and on a more national level, when talking about like banning drag or regulations of people in bathrooms, like to just think about that and be like, this is genuinely ridiculous and is like a distraction and like a scapegoat away from like the actual issues,
Mhm.
like how bad the economy is because the US is in so many different wars and conflicts and dumping billions of dollars, probably more than billions, honestly. I don't know. But yeah, like I'm not the problem in this situation. Like, and so people who want to like try and make it seem like that, like I have been around for 27 years and I know that's not very long, but it's been enough that I've been able to develop a sense of self. Of I know who I am and what I want to do and where I want to be, and I don't need some random strangers telling me that they think they know me better than I do because they don't. And yeah, just like any attempt to like take that away from me is kind of futile because I feel like I've fought so hard, like within my own head, to be like, what's going on? Like, this is all so confusing. And so, like, not making a generalization about all trans people, but I think as like a trans experience to like turn towards that more difficult route, like that more marginalized route, like existing as a trans person is not the easier option in this country and honestly probably in a lot of different countries. So like to go through the like internal work to be like, no, like living authentically like this is worth it and will be like a better life for me, like in spite of all those other things. That's a lot of like internal self-work, and but just like that ability to like self-discover and be like, wait, this is who I actually am is like really powerful and really cool.
And we need to recharge and do things that we love because if we just advocate, I mean, you're going to go into burnout. So it's essential to find things that we love doing so we can recharge and be healthy enough then to go out into the world.
Yeah, and I think one thing I've also learned recently is that there's like a lot of different ways to like advocate and do activism. Like I think the loudest, most obvious way is like walking around in the street, like holding a sign and screaming with a bunch of other people. I think as someone who's like neurodivergent and like that is like so much to me. And like sometimes I do that because that's what the moment calls for, but it's not like my best thing. I think people have like things that they're more like drawn to or like skilled at and like is like a better use of, not to say that like anyone like could do any of the things, but just like when I came to the realization that there are like different ways to do activism and like organizing stuff and like doing outreach to kids at schools, and like the San Francisco
Yeah,
Game Forest does that, where they have like maybe like 20 or so people go to like middle schools or high schools and like sing there and like tell their stories. Like if I was a middle schooler and I saw a bunch of like queer people like singing songs that I liked and like telling stories about how like they're queer and they're still okay and they haven't like spontaneously combusted, that would have meant so much to me as a kid because like I didn't have any of that type of representation. So that joy and that simple existing is like activism in a way because some of those kids could be really affected.
definitely.
But yeah.
For someone in the LGBTQ plus community who is still struggling with self love and acceptance, what would you want them to hear today?
I'm just thinking about all the younger versions of myself, ugh, and how hard it has been at certain times. I think sometimes when I'm at my lowest point and people are like, "Oh, it gets better," I'm like, "Ugh, shut up. Like, you don't know how bad it is right now." Yeah, that definitely is true, even though I don't like to hear it. Of like, just the wider your world becomes and the more people you meet, the more likely you are to meet the people that you can fit with. Spend so much time just like being in spaces and around people who I've been too much for whatever reason. I don't know, just like singing too much, too colorful, too energetic, like too this, too that. And like that kind of like crushes you in a way a little bit. And I really liked I don't know how recent it was, but there was one of your episodes where like a therapist or someone came on and they were talking about that of like the just like how it wears down on you, and it's not like one specific trauma but like years of experience of like shrinking yourself to fit in for others, struggling with their like self-love and acceptance and all that, just like knowing that like it's probably going to take years and there's probably going to be things that have affected you for so long that like you don't even realize when you're in like the fight or flight mode, when you're just trying to get by, like that's not when you're going to be doing all of the like internal deep searching for like what's going on and why it's happening and why you're having like coping strategies that worked at one point but now they're just like hurting you. Like I don't know, as a young person just trying to get by, like that's yeah, not really at the top of your list probably. But there's a song that I really really like, which I'm not going to sing, but like you can listen to it later if you want. But the main gist of it is like I wrote down some of the lyrics, but one part of it that I really like, they said you have more friends than you know, some who surround you, some you are destined to meet. You'll have more love in your life. Don't let go, give it time, take it slow. Those who love you the most may need more time to grow. And the first time I heard that sung by the Oakland Gay Men's Chorus, I just started crying so hard because it was just like so beautiful hearing like 50 or so people all singing this, and it felt like it touched me in such like a personal way of like none of these people knowing these singing this song, like I never met them before, but it felt like that music was like talking directly to me, and how like even when I'm around people sometimes I feel really lonely of feeling like worried about being too much or like overwhelming. And I think I have met more and more people over the years that don't make me feel like that. But again, that's like something that sticks with you. And like, if you've gone like your whole childhood and young adult life of having so many different people being like, you're too much, stop it, like, tone it down, that hurts and doesn't go away right away. So I don't know. That song just like really I feel like that's the answer to the question for me of like, you're not going to have all the answers right now. You're not going to be able to do everything perfectly and exactly the way that you want. And I think the idea of perfection is kind of an enemy in the ways of like, you have to do everything right in order to be okay. But like, just doing enough, just doing something and being able to like turn away from that idea of like, doing everything correctly in order to, yeah.
I like the sentence, take it slow, what you just said. And I would add, have a lot of compassion for yourself.
Yeah. And
And
when the world around you is so mean, it's so easy to like just amplify that and make it all louder and fixate on that.
yeah,
But like when you look for it, there's a lot of sweetness and kindness and beauty as well. And I definitely get really in my head sometimes of like everything's horrible. Ah, but there's a lot of really wonderful things too. Like even if I just walk up and down my street, there's so many pretty like flowers and it's sunny out today. And like if I smiled and said hi to a random stranger, they'd probably say hi back. There's so many like teeny tiny reasons why the world is good. Yeah.
well, Cal, thank you so much for being with us. It was great hearing you. A lot of interesting things, and I'm sure you're helping a lot of people that are listening.
Yeah, thank you. I've listened to a bunch of your episodes and really enjoyed
Oh,
all of them. So happy to be on one
oh,
eventually.
great. Thank you very much.
Cool. Okay, sounds good.
Right. Thank you. Have a good
Guys,
day.
you too.
Talk to you later. Bye. And as we wrap up today's episode, take a moment to come back to yourself. Remember, building genuine self love doesn't come from fighting into labels or seeking external validation. It comes from learning to trust who you are at your core. Your identity doesn't have to be fixed or perfectly defined. When you allow yourself to embrace fluidity, you create space for growth, for discovery, and for a deeper, more authentic sense of pride. And most importantly, don't underestimate the power of joy. The things that light you up, the ways you express yourself, those are not small. They are powerful tools for healing, for confidence, and for truly stepping into who you are. So keep exploring, keep expressing, and keep choosing yourself one step at a time. I'm always looking for inspiring guests for the podcast, and I'd love to have you or someone you know share your journey with pride. The world needs your story. It has the power to change lives, and your voice matters. Reach out and send me an email today. Also, I'm now booking keynote speaking engagements. My talk is From Survival to Self Love: How I Finally Learned to Embrace My LGBTQ Identity with Pride, and how you can too. Details at togethermovingforwardpodcast.com under speaking. It is already time to say au revoir just for now. Join me every Monday for brand new episodes of the Together Moving Forward podcast and learn how to embrace your true LGBTQI plus identity with pride through self love. Wherever you are from in the world, we are all connected. Remember, solidarity beats hate. The more we unite, the stronger we become. Because at the end of the day, we are all equally human and we all deserve the same rights. Before we close with our weekly positive thought, I want to tell you what this one personally means to me, especially with this episode. I am uniquely and wonderfully made. For me, it's a reminder that I don't have to fit into anyone else's definition of who I should be. I don't have to shrink myself, label myself perfectly, or explain my identity to be worthy of love or respect. It means that even in the moments where I feel different, uncertain, or like I don't quite belong, there's nothing wrong with me. Those differences are actually where my strength lives. And just like we heard today, self love isn't about having all the answers. It's about accepting yourself as you are, allowing yourself to grow, and giving yourself the space to evolve. So if you take anything from today, let it be this: you are allowed to be fluid, you are allowed to find joy in who you are, and you are already enough exactly as you are. Now is the time to put your hand on your heart and repeat after me. Yes, you and me together, this week, positive thoughts. I am uniquely and wonderfully made. Yep, I am uniquely and wonderfully made. From shame, guilt, silence, and rejection to pride, freedom, healing, and love. Together moving forward. Thank you so much for being here with me today and for sharing this journey of growth and love. I truly appreciate you. See you next week. Ciao. Do you know anyone in the LGBTQ plus community who feels disconnected from their true self, wishing they could embrace their identity with confidence and pride? Share this episode now and help them step into self-love and self-respect so they can truly celebrate who they are with pride, feel empowered, and make a real difference in our community.